And we've had this in Ireland, yeah, but we've had these horrific crimes that were unheard of up to very, very recently. Unheard of. The crimes that you would touch a child or stab a child is just so upsetting. And it doesn't get actually talked about because it's too upsetting. Do you know what I mean? That's not the conversation you have out when you're with your work colleagues or you're out on a night out. That is not what you talk about because it's so horrific and so upsetting.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the Another Nobody Show with me, your favorite nobody, Travis Myers. Today's guest is Amanda Gallagher, who comes to us from Sligo, Ireland. She's been mixed up with Irish politics for, about 10 years now, I think. She is the host of the Politix Podcast, spelled Politix. It's available on YouTube, and she's very outspoken on Twitter and or X, as we call it now, and where she goes by the name Mandy Gal. And that's it. That's all you're going to hear from me, because we're going to talk all about a bunch of problems they're having in Ireland right now with my new friend, Mandy. Here we go. Hey, everybody. How you doing? I have with me today a dear friend named Amanda Gallagher, who hails from Sligo, Ireland, and has been involved in Irish politics for what is it now? At least 10 years, you say?
At least 10 years, yes. Yeah.
10
involved.
years.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
And now you've just recently started a new thing. You have your own podcast that we'll talk about, but also you've become very, very, shall I say, vocal on X, on what many of us still call Twitter, but it's now X.
Yeah. Yes, Travis, I have. I've set up my own podcast, but before that, what led to setting up my own podcast was X, pretty much. In Ireland, you would meet loads of people and they wouldn't really know what you're talking about if they're not on X. Even if they're very, very awake and you say, well, did you see such a thing, which was a major news story on X? And they would look at you blankly. And I'd be advising them to get on X when I speak to them. But then I came up with the idea a couple of months ago that if I bring people the news from X, anything that's happening up to date, and if they subscribe to YouTube, which many of them do watch YouTube, they just haven't taken the step to start an account on X. I suppose they probably find it maybe confusing or, when it really is so simple, you just set up an account and follow like-minded people. But that was my idea for starting a podcast, that people don't know really what's going on, the full extent of things. They might hear it lightly on the news or maybe not at all on the news, but they're just not getting the full story, Travis. So I decided to set up a podcast, very simple, a simple idea to bring up-to-date news, particularly in Ireland now. We're interested in the world as well, but particularly in Ireland, what's going on with everything. And the poor people that walk by you on the street or in your workplace, they really don't have a clue. So that was my reason. And I find X absolutely fantastic. It's fantastic for getting the word out and the way things can go viral and, so much interest in things. And it really does wake people up. And my view is that if there's nothing wrong with what's going on, then everyone should hear it. Do you know what I mean? If everything, there's nothing to hide, obviously.
I agree with you so far on absolutely everything, in that X and Twitter is a fairly new thing for me too. I'm a bit of a dinosaur. I almost kind of reject technology and social media as a whole. But because of our books that my sister and I write, and we've started our own podcast now, which we're sitting on talking to right now.
Right.
And then because of that, I had to have a presence. So yes, I did start an Instagram page and an X account. And what I think is really great about it is a point that you made, is that so many people, and when I use this word, nobody be insulted, are completely ignorant about what's going on. Ignorant does not mean that you're stupid or unintelligent. It means you do not know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people are ignorant, very, very ignorant. And I mean masses of people, about what's going on all over the world, but even right down to your very town, your own community. You have no clue of what's going on because, and there's nothing wrong with that because we're going through our daily lives. We go to work, we come home, we take care of our families, we take care of our pets. Next thing you know, that 24 hours is gone
Yes.
and you start up the next day
Yeah.
and you just don't know. And so something like X or Instagram or Facebook, whatever it is, these different things, if used properly,
Yeah.
and if used for good instead of evil, can be really, really great things. And I think, and I know you and I are in agreement on this from our past conversations, that, Elon Musk, love him or hate him,
Yeah.
for what he's done with X and giving free speech to the world. Because again, you and I, Ireland has free speech written into the Constitution. The United States has free speech written into the Constitution. The majority of the countries in the world do not.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes. And they need X. Like you said, Elon Musk, he deserves some sort of an award one day when the right people are in charge. He really deserves an award for what he's done. Purchasing it
yes,
and really keeping free speech alive. And he's helped so many people, so many people. And like you said, the UK are going down a very dark path of locking people up for posts. And bringing them to
unbelievable to me.
yeah.
It's
It's
shocking to me because I've been to England twice. I've been to London twice, and I've always considered us to be
well.
a brother and sister country,
Mm,
if you will,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's shocking to me that somebody can I don't care how off color it may be to you and or to I, you have the right to express yourself as
Yeah.
a human being. I don't
Yes.
care what country you're from. As a human being, you have the right to express yourself. And to have that stolen, and the idea that there's somebody's going to come and bang on your door in the middle of the night because you
Which they
made
have.
what somebody else considers an off-color post
Offensive. Yeah. So, yeah.
is
Somewhat
absolutely
exactly.
criminal.
What someone else considers offensive, but the next door neighbor might not consider it offensive. So that's the point of
Yes.
free speech and freedom of speech, and that's what democracies are built on. And you would wonder then, is the UK a democracy anymore when this has happened? And certain things people are offended at, namely immigration. I find certain things the government and authorities are offended with,
Yes.
and they're not offended with other things, major things, criminal
That's correct.
things. And they're
Well, we
not offended.
find
So I think of that lady, Lucy Connolly in England, who's still, in prison for a post
yes.
which she deleted, which she went for a walk and deleted. I don't know how long, maybe 40 minutes later. She came back and deleted it. But that wasn't taken into consideration, and she's missing out. They've moved her. Yesterday I read they've moved her, as if it wasn't bad enough. They've moved her from the prison that was near her home to miles away for her husband and little children or a child to visit. So that is not a democracy anymore when they can knock on your door at 3 a.m. and tell you, not even just tell you to delete the post, but to arrest you over the post.
Well, and they do it again. They'll hurt somebody, and I don't know Lucy Connolly personally,
No,
obviously,
no.
but I'm sure she's a fine, decent woman,
Yeah.
okay? And they will hurt her, okay, as punitively as possible, not even to hurt her, but to shut everybody else up and make
Yes.
them live in fear. And
Yeah.
that's what the goal is
Yeah.
to rule, in fear.
Yeah.
And granted, it may not be, 500, 1,000 years ago where they would, behead you or hang you
Hang
for
you.
speaking out of
Yes.
line, but they
Yeah.
will imprison you. And
Yeah.
it's absolutely criminal. And I'm sure you'll agree with me on this too. But while we're on the free speech topic, I think, I don't know if I probably am. I'm a free speech absolutist. I think people should be able to say anything that they want.
Yes.
And if you do say something that I find disgusting, or, I can't say criminal because criminal again would be, criminal, which is what I don't want.
Yeah. Like
But I
offensive.
want
What
to
you
know,
find offensive, because you
but
do
I
have
want to
some
know how
things.
you think. You see,
Yes.
if it turns out that Mandy Gallagher says something absolutely horrible, well, good. Now I know
Yes.
how you think. I
Exactly.
know
You
how
get to
to.
know the person. Yeah,
Correct.
you get to know the
Correct.
person. Instead of shutting down, you never get to hear anyone's views. But we're going
Sure.
back to Lucy Connolly there, who I don't know either. I've just read this whole story and it's a scandal. But going back to her, they didn't even take into consideration that she was so angry and upset, the thing she tweeted about or
Sure.
posted about was the stabbing of those poor children at a Taylor Swift little dance, these
Yes.
tiny, innocent, fairy-like little girls almost, to have this horror, and that poor teacher who held some of them back, or defended some of them by putting herself in front of this evil maniac, and let them run out and save some of them. But the horror of that day, and not only Lucy Connolly, the whole of the UK, right-minded people, and the whole of Ireland, and the whole of Europe, and even America, and the whole world, absolute sickened with that crime of that.
Yes.
And they called him a Welsh choir boy. I don't know, did you pick up that of that story?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
he was a Welsh choir boy, and they tried to shut down all. I mean, how could you shut down? That is horrific. And how would they attempt to shut down conversations or social media posts about it? People have a right to be scared and a right to be angry about these things that are happening.
Well, and to be aware.
And yes, to be aware. And it's not to put fear into people, but this has happened. Do you know what I mean? This
Correct.
has happened. So you have to let people talk, and you have to let people air their anger and their frustration and address it, which they never do. They never do. And we've had this in Ireland. Yeah, we've had these horrific crimes that were unheard of up to very, very recently. Unheard of. The crimes that you would touch a child or stab a child is just so upsetting. And it doesn't get actually talked about because it's too upsetting. Do you know what I mean? That's not the conversation you have out when you're with your work colleagues, or you're out on a night out. That is not what you talk about, because it's so horrific and so upsetting. But like I said, it never gets addressed. People's fears don't get addressed. It gets brushed under the carpet. And this is a way of locking Lucy Connolly up, is a way of shutting people up, as you said. Silence. Yeah,
well, it's a thing that I don't know if we'll ever know the truth in the end, but there is a very dark thing going on all around the Western world, all around the world as a whole, but in particular in the West, where the powers that be, our governments, all right, who are hand in hand with the media, okay, and where the media should be holding our governments to task, okay, and shining a light on everything that they do wrong so we can see it. Instead, they help in the cover-up of these crimes. They help hide things that are going on that we should know about, for any number of political reasons, and much of it that I don't understand. And immigration again is I don't mean to cut you off there, but
Travis, sorry, immigration is the number one no. You are not allowed to say the word immigration. You are not allowed to criticize it. But going back to the media there, here we have a state broadcaster, which is funded by the state, and the people have to pay a TV license every year that goes towards this. Is it 150? I think it's 150 euro. And so they definitely don't, I do say on my podcast, I'm bringing you the stories that the RTE forget. They must have forgotten somewhere. They must be busy. Yes. I know what they're doing, but they're forgetting these big stories and these major news for the Irish people. But not only them now, so that's the state broadcaster, but every other local radio station in the towns and villages, which all the locals usually tune into on a Monday morning, you tune into your local radio station, they get funded. Every year they get money, you know what I mean, from the government. So they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them, the media outlets. And that's why Ireland in particular, and like you've set up your podcast, for us, a lot of us are setting up podcasts. A lot of us have big accounts on X. That's the only way we have found that people will get, eventually it will ripple down to everyone. And as I always say, once the whole nation is informed as to what exactly is going on, as to how much money is involved, as to the people that are coming, and to crime, once everyone's informed, then we can all rest easy. Okay, that's what the majority of people want. We'll all relax now. We'll all rest easy. That's what they want. That's the way they want Ireland to be. So that's fine. You'd forget about it. But when you know that the majority of your small town have no clue what's going on. That's
Yes.
when you people like us. I've ran in 2 local elections, one as an independent and one with the Irish Freedom Party. I've now resigned from the Irish Freedom Party because I'm going to focus on this work now, because I have realised that because people aren't informed, you won't get the votes, and no nationalists will get elected. Especially in our area, in Dublin, there's a few good councillors there elected, but it's very rare, and you certainly probably won't get TD up to the Dáil, which is our people who make all the legislation and all the changes, and the people who can stop the uncontrolled immigration into the
Yes. So
country.
for our listeners, the TD is similar to our Congress and or our Senate, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Very
They're
similar.
the ones that make the rules.
Yes, they are. They enact the legislation, and they could change everything in the morning. But we have, gosh, do we even have one I can think of who's, no, they've all basically folded, and they're all very quiet. And it's absolutely, it beggars belief. And we just had an election in November. It's not as if we're going to have an election next year and we're talking about this. We have just had an election in November after Trump's, I think it was after Trump's election. Yeah, we had it. Yeah, that was early November, wasn't it, Trump? I
Yes.
think. Yeah, so we had ours late November. And once again, many of the same people elected. But they did tell a bit of running up to the campaign. They said things like so sorry, I'll go back now. There was a poll or a survey done in 2023 of the Irish people, and 79% back then said immigration into Ireland was too high. Okay, so that was a year and a half ago now. I reckon it's nearer to 96% now, with all the stories that have come out
Yes.
and all the things that have happened. I think it's very, very high. But the government know this. And the government came out before the election as part of their campaign that they were going to come strict on immigration, and they were chartering flights for deportations and blah, blah, blah. And since then, so people vote them in, So people are wary of change. People don't like to rock the boat too much. So that's another reason why the same people get in. But they're probably ticking that person, putting a number 1 for that certain person in the hope that they will sort out immigration, as they were promised.
Yes, so that's something that I wanted to ask you and point out at the same time, just things that I've read myself. And during the, what was it? Around mid-90s, 1995 or so, during your Celtic Tiger time, where Ireland was very, very strong.
Yeah.
All right. You had something like, 70,000 immigrants came to Ireland, which is a large number for such a small country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The majority of these people, though, had come from Eastern European countries, so they were still EU countries, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, just last year, in 2024, okay, you had, let me make sure I get the number right, 149,200 immigrants came to Ireland, okay?
Yeah.
And that's Ireland. That's not Northern Ireland. Again, here in America, people forget that these are 2 separate countries. So this is just the south of Ireland, or just Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, excuse me.
Yeah, the south, I call it. Yes, just
and the majority of those came from African countries.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, we're not talking bad about Africans, but we're speaking about people who do not know the language, okay, have a very different religious backgrounds, okay, who are completely different people as a whole to the people who are living in Ireland, have very little to no education and are bringing no skills. So what in the world is the Irish government thinking, not paying attention to who's coming into the country, and or is it, because this is what I suspect, and I'd like to get your take on it, is the EU forcing this onto Ireland?
I would say 100% yes, Travis.
You would?
Yes,
You would
100%.
agree with me on that?
Yeah. Not only the EU, we know the UN, the United Nations.
Yes.
We know there's documents. You say so many people come in. There are documents from the UN stating that the European Union and America, I think they name all the countries, they must have replacement migration. So when I saw that document, I got shocked, because you hear the far right, they call it in the media, the far right, the great replacement. You ever hear that conspiracy theory, blah, blah, blah. But this is an actual UN document saying it's just entitled Replacement Migration. So when you read that document, it says, because of low birth rates, whose fault is that? Government, no good policies to enable you to have babies, especially now. I'll talk about those in a minute. But because of low birth rates, because of abortion, because of all these things that have happened in the Western world since the 80s and the 90s, it probably stopped in 1999 or something as the year 2000 broke. All these things went down. So you have many babies. Now the girls have no babies or one baby, or the married couples as well. But so there's a thing called replacement migration from the UN. Now, if you read that document, you'd be actually quite shocked, Travis. And I would advise your readers to go look that up, the UN replacement migration document, and look it up. And then you fast forward. So that was written, I'm not sure, I think around 2015, that document was written. So then in 2018, the Irish people voted for abortion in 2018, in May 2018. And then in December 2018, the Irish government sent Charlie Flanagan, who was the minister, I don't know what he was, I think he was a minister at the time. Yeah, they sent him over to Morocco to sign the UN Migration Pact without the Irish people knowing about it. I went on radio, tried to warn people in November 2018, but he went over in December 2018 and signed this document. And in that document, it says that basically they're trying to regulate migration into Europe. So so within it, there is advice from media companies to not be too harsh, not to criticize immigrants. Do you know what I mean? If there's any stories, yes, criminal stories, yes, try your best. So basically, it's telling the media to try their best to dampen down the story. That's one part of it. And then the other part of it, which is major in my view, is, which to me is happening now, and that was 2018. So it's what woke me up to the whole immigration issue, Travis. I didn't even bat an eyelid before that, really. I didn't really notice. As you said, we all have friends from Latvia and Poland, and all our children mixed with these Eastern European children, and everything was fine. And they integrate and they work hard, and they live all together and everything's fine. But then in 2018, Ireland signed this, and then we had COVID. And lo and behold, in 2022, 2021, we have this big influx of immigrants, not only to Ireland, to the UK, to America. Look at the hassle in America now with ICE and everything, all the hassle that's going on, all the trouble. And the UN, basically, to me, it is one big, long plan, and it's all working out for them. They're saying that the low birth rates in these Western countries, including Ireland, that you will have to be replaced by somebody. So yes, to me, of course, it's planned. Of course, the EU are in on it, of course. And they pay, I don't know how much it is towards all of this, And now we've signed into the EU Migration Pact, which is another, that goes actually on I remember we had a TD, Mark McSharry, he's now resigned.
Yeah, that's the EU Pact on Migration and Asylum, correct?
Yes. And that's coming into force very soon. And that is where we have to take our fair share of asylum seekers, And the EU will dictate.
Exactly. This fair share is not decided by the Irish people.
Exactly.
Or even the Irish government. It's decided by the European Union.
Yes, and what it goes on, as I was saying about that Mark McSharry guy, TD, he stood up on the Dáil, and it was quite an actual shocking speech he made. He said he's read the EU Migration Pact, and it goes on your square. I don't know. I'm not a farmer now, but it goes on your land base. Do you know?
Or how many acres you have, or whatever.
Yes, so it goes on your landmass. So that is absolutely insane. Ireland is full of green fields. Are they saying that they're going to look at those green fields and say, you can fit more, you can fit more, you can fit more? It's absolute insanity, Travis, while we have so much chaos right now in Ireland. I dread to think what will come when this EU Migration Pact really rolls off. I think it's June, or gets going June 26th, I think. So we're talking this time next year. We have so much hassle as it is, Travis. And the number one hassle the Irish have right now is housing. There are no homes. Sorry, before we drop the free speech thing, I just wanted to say something. 2 weeks ago, the EU gave our government an ultimatum whereby they have to enact hate speech legislation. And that's coming up, I would say, in about 3 days' time. I'm not sure where we are with that time frame, but it's absolutely frightening, Travis, that they
Well,
would.
it is. Now, here in America, luckily, our Supreme Court decided that hate speech, that there is no such thing as hate speech. Speech is speech. And so,
Exactly.
although you may say something that is hateful,
Yeah.
okay, it is still allowed. You are allowed to hate other people,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
There are problems when you act on your hate.
Of
That is a
course.
different thing,
Violence,
okay?
yes, of course, of course.
Exactly.
But
But you are
speech,
allowed to think what you want to think and you're allowed to
yes.
believe what you want to believe,
Yes.
which
Sticks
I
and
believe is
stones.
right. And again, as far as being myself, being, as they say, a free speech absolutist, I want to know what you think. If you are a rotten, evil Nazi bastard, I want to know this. That way
Yes.
I know who you are,
And you can avoid me.
Or if you're any kind of racist, then I want to know this. I want to know where you stand. So I
Yes.
think hiding it, you're never going to end it. All you're going to do is hide it. And I
Yeah.
really hope that doesn't go through for you, because again, you will find that who is going to determine what hate speech is? And you're
Exactly.
going to have a handful, a very small minority of politicians who are going to decide that, you know what? I didn't like what Mandy said that day, you know?
Mm.
So
Yes.
we're going to go after her.
Yeah.
Where somebody else who may be politically inclined in a different direction could say the same thing, if not something worse,
Yeah.
but that same group of politicians and or uh, people in authority in the police department, all right, you're a guard, right?
Mm.
Will say, nah, we're not going to bother with that one.
Yeah. Yes,
It's
they
unfair
pick
and it's
and choose.
shameful.
Actually, that's a
Exactly.
major point. That was the major point. You see, this was talked about last year, Travis, and the majority of people contacted their TDs and said they don't want this. They cannot define the word hate. So within the legislation, you cannot find any definition of hate, which is going to be a shambles as it is. So they had to drop the whole thing. They had to drop the whole idea last year, and they had to make the announcement that the hate speech legislation has been dropped like a hot potato. Minister McEntee, Helen McEntee, our Minister for Justice. But lo and behold, now we hear ripples that the EU are going to fine Ireland heavily if we don't. And knowing our boys at the top, they will go right on ahead and do what the EU tells them. They are not
Yes.
doing it. They are not thinking of what the Irish people want. That should be their main priority. What the people of this little island want. Then we will do what the EU asks of us. But first of all, we will ask our people. But they never ask. They don't ask about the hate speech. They don't ask about immigration. They don't ask any of the important questions that they need to ask the people.
This was something I have on my list of things I wanted to ask you about, but I'm going to move it up to the front now because we just happen to be talking about it. What do you think? Is there any chance at all? Okay, that, well, I'm sure the people of I don't know if the majority of Ireland would, but many of the people in Ireland would actually like to leave the EU and have Ireland have its own Brexit,
Irexit. We
much
call
like
it Irexit. Irexit.
Irexit.
Irexit. Yeah. It's a word. It's a thing already. It's an idea
Okay.
already among many people. Yes. I mean, Ireland joined the EU back in the 70s. They had the vote. Okay. So they joined because it sounded fantastic and
Hmm.
was fantastic. It was fantastic, Travis. They joined because of the single market, easily to export their goods. The farmers would have better income. The farmers get a grant every year. But when you fast forward now to today, where you have so many immigrants from non-EU countries, which the
Yes.
people of the 70s who voted this in would never ever have dreamed or foresaw this. Do you know what I mean? Ireland of 2025, they would not have even in their wildest nightmares foresaw what would happen. So that's one thing: immigration being forced, and by non-EU immigrants coming and
Yes.
and it's being forced basically, in my opinion, by the UN and those guys. Okay, our fishing industry, we have, I think it's only 12% of our waters left for us.
I saw that.
Yeah,
How insane is that? That
insane.
that Ireland is only allowed to fish and or keep 12%
Yes,
of your own fish.
yes. absolutely insane. The EU are even letting trawlers, super trawlers now, not just regular trawlers, the poor fishermen in the villages of Ireland and the generational fisher families who had granddad and great granddad, all the fishermen from Killybegs down, are looking in at the water at the super trawlers from Germany, France, Spain, and now they're letting Icelandic super trawlers guzzle our fish up. We would have billions. It's €1 billion industry trashed.
Yeah.
They took that. So so joining the EU has done that. We'd be so rich. We're an island. We should be so rich off the fish and feed
Yes.
us for generations to come. So they've done that. The immigration issue. We are now a net contributor. So no matter what happens now, yeah, our roads improved. As we say, there's a man called John Waters here, a journalist, and he wrote a book called Give Us Back the Bad Roads. That's what the book is called. And yeah, you know what I mean? Yes, our roads improved and our schools, and we got so many grants for this and that, and it all dribbles down from the EU. But now in 2025, we are at I wouldn't say breaking point, but we are at a point where we are now a net contributor to the EU, which means we are giving them more. So we are now holding up the other countries of the EU, and we're just a tiny little island. And to me, I cannot see it lasting too much longer. As you said, would there ever be an Irexit in Ireland? It's an idea. That's all I know right now. It's a seed. People in Ireland who are on X, maybe they know the word Irexit now, because it's a seed that has been sown. I would say when the EU Migration Pact kicks off, and when we have to be lectured by the EU as to how many people we can take going on our landmass, when that happens, the whole country would vote for an Irexit, because it is absolutely insane. As I said, there's no houses. There are no houses being built for the Irish. But there is such construction, Travis. If you came to Ireland right now, I could drive you around and show you the construction that's going on for IPAS buildings. And for your listeners who wouldn't know what IPAS means, IPAS is International Protection Accommodation Services. Okay, that's the title it's called. And we have a big IPAS building in Dublin, which is full of civil servants who deal with the claims and the cases of these people coming into the country. Okay, so there's a load of buildings going up right now. In my hometown in Sligo, there are 5 big apartment blocks, and they're attached to the local secondary school in the town. And these 5 big apartment blocks are done up to the nines. They are luxury. There's balconies, there's lounge furniture, and the people that are going in them don't have to pay anything. The people that they're going into them from just arrived from non-EU countries are in a few weeks, I'm not sure how many weeks they have to be here before they have the right to work. So they can go on to the local shop and get a job, which used to be held by the teenagers, the summer jobs, and the students, the secondary school students and the third level students. They used to have these types of jobs in the takeaways and the shops, and the bars and the hotel lobbies and the restaurants. So these people who have just come here move into these beautiful, beautiful homes, apartments, and don't pay anything. And they can work. And they can work alongside the Irish family man who has to get out to work and feed his children. And we've very, very high cost of living, Travis, at the minute here, extremely high. We're the highest electricity rate in Europe, Ireland has, that we have to pay. And it's crippling. And the price of groceries is crippling many, many families. So these people come along and they have this, and I think it's the most extreme, upsetting part of it is that they are allowed to work alongside the Irishman, and they don't have to pay a contribution towards their accommodation. At the minute, they're saying they're going to change it. That story came out last year that they don't pay a contribution. They still haven't changed it, the government. So they're saying it'll take another year. I saw it the other day. It's going to take another year to sort out that glitch in the system. They're saying it's a glitch. It's ridiculous. Right. It should be overnight that if you work, you pay a contribution to your free house. And the reason so many have come in the last year and a half, the reason so many people come here is because we had a minister for integration. He's a Green Party. I don't know, you probably have radical Democrats there who are all into the climate change and da-da-da.
We actually have a Green Party here. Oh. And in fact, they even put people up for president. Okay?
Really? I missed that.
Yes, but they never they never,
Get
get
anywhere.
nearly enough votes to get ahead now. So we're very much a two-party system here in America.
Well,
We have
yeah.
a Green Party. There's what's the other party? I can't. It escapes me now. But
There's,
they're inconsequential.
yeah, they're so minute. Well, here they're not.
Yeah.
Here is the opposite. Here they are very consequential, and even though they lost the majority of their seats in the last election, so I'm talking previous to that now. So the last term, last year and the year before. So this minister was the minister in charge with dealing with all the asylum seekers that come in, the asylum seekers. And so he put out a tweet at the time. It was Twitter, I think. He put out a tweet in 8 different languages, Arabic, all the languages you can think of. He put it out, advertising basically Ireland, advertising our generous asylum system,
Yes.
advertising the free dental and the free medical. So, do you know what I always say to people when they say it to me? I say, it's not the people's coming. It's not their fault. It's absolutely not their fault that they're
No,
coming.
not at all.
No, because if you got a message in Ireland now,
Sure.
or you in America, Travis, if you got a tweet saying, hey, wife, honey, come here, they're not giving away, but they're letting us come to Ireland. We get free dental, free GP, free accommodation. We get our meals handed to us.
Yes.
So we are going basically for a holiday. We are going for a holiday. God only knows when the holiday will end, but it's an all-inclusive deal we're going for.
Yes.
And Travis,
Yes.
people say, but they're refugees, but they're asylum seekers. No, our government even have admitted that 80% that come in are economic migrants. And then they flip it and say, but sure, the Irish went everywhere. We're sick of hearing that. We are tired of hearing the Irish went everywhere, which they did. Yes, they did. And everybody knows the Irish went everywhere. We all know. Yes, we all know that. Travis is you are one of the offspring of the Irish that went everywhere.
Yes.
But the difference is your great-great-grandparents and your great-great-grandma, whoever went there, they didn't get everything handed. They were actual economic migrants, which means
yes, they were.
Actually, when the government say they're 80% economic migrants, no, that's not even it. I don't know what the word is because they're not even. Economic migrant goes and works bloody hard in this new country and integrates himself and gets a job and pays his taxes and, doesn't look for freebies. If an economic migrant comes and they either work or die, and that's been the case all over the world ever since the Irish had to leave. They had to leave because they were bloody starving. They had to leave, but they never looked for freebies, the Irish. Never, ever, ever. And now they're trying to rewrite history, sort of, Travis, because they're saying, I don't know, did you hear the mongrel story?
Yes, I did. Now, and this was your current president, right?
Prime Minister.
Higgins?
He's called the Taoiseach. It's the Irish version of the Prime Minister.
Okay.
So he's not a president. No, our president is another kettle of fish altogether. Our president really is just a ceremonial, Michael D. Higgins. He's not in any way in charge of things. As it stands, he lives in a big, big house with his wife and his doggies. But he has garden parties for woke people. Never a garden party for people who are not woke. So not that we would go to any garden party with him, but he lives in this beautiful, beautiful Oros house, and that's just a ceremonial. So that's our president. Sorry, that's why I went on a tangent about Michael D. Higgins. But our Taoiseach is Micheál Martin, our Taoiseach. He's the head of the Fianna Fáil party. Yes, he is somewhat trying to rewrite history as we speak. They're trying to say that there is no Irish, basically. So we just said the Irish went everywhere. Yes, we hold our hands up. The Irish went everywhere. Yes. And I said on my podcast, the reason the Irish went everywhere, even in America, if you are Italian or any German or any other nationality, you know who the Paddy is. You know who Paddy is. Everybody knows the Paddies. In England, everybody knows the Paddies because they are a unique people, Travis. The Irish people are unique. We have these pale skin and freckles, and we speak with accents. So, but as I said, our Taoiseach right now is trying to say that he didn't say the words mongrels. Sorry, that's probably a bit of a mishap there. He didn't say mongrels, but RTE, our state broadcaster, put out a series. It started a couple of weeks ago. They put out a series narrated by Colin Farrell. So the movie heartthrob Colin Farrell, who is Irish,
Yes.
is narrating this series on our state broadcaster, calling the Irish mongrels. Did you ever hear?
Yes.
Did you ever hear the like in your life? And I did a whole show on it. It's ridiculous. And I said to Colin Farrell, if you see this message, you should have got a job in Tesco, which is a supermarket. As
Yeah.
you know what your supermarkets are called there. Or McDonald's, I said to him, get a job flipping
Yes.
burgers. Do not go on a series and narrate it saying the words that the Irish were never really a homogenous group. We were just mongrels. Travis, it's absolutely outrageous.
Well, I've seen other things, be it on, I don't know, Netflix or anything else that I've been watching, where they've depicted the Irish and, you know, Vikings as well, and different groups is actually being dark skinned.
Yeah,
You know,
yes.
which
Yeah.
is
And
ridiculous.
they say that some of the queens and kings of England of the past, of the 16
Yes.
and 1700s, were African. I don't know
Yes.
where they're getting all this from. It's crazy.
Well, they can say anything, and some people will buy it. They did that for years with, oh geez, I'm not going to be able to think of her name now. Um, the Queen of Egypt, help me, Cleopatra.
Cleopatra. Oh, yeah.
Cleopatra was Greek. She was of Greek descent. She was not black, and
Yeah.
yet, when I was a young man, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, you know, many of the black girls would wear Cleopatra around her neck because she was the true African queen. You know, which,
Okay.
yes, Egypt is part of Africa, but
Yeah.
these are not sub-Saharan people by any means, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's neither here nor there, to be honest. But it's a shame that they attempt so desperately to rewrite history, to prove themselves right, to pass their laws or their
yeah.
bills in for us, for Congress, for you. And what is it that you call it? Your Congress,
The doll. It's
the
Leinster
doll.
House. The doll.
Okay,
DAIL. Yeah. The doll.
yes,
Um. Yeah, so that is a rewriting of history, and it's extremely serious because will that line that the Irish were never a homogenous group and that we were mongrels, will that filter into school textbooks? Do you know, to the impressionable children? And I heard yesterday that they have in some school book for 13-year-olds. Yesterday they have what are they trying to say, that that they're talking about asylum seekers, and they're saying that it is a myth in Ireland that asylum seekers get everything for free. I think that's the line in it,
yes,
that asylum. So I mean, so the kids would hear maybe on a newspaper someone saying that, you know, the asylum seekers, but they actually do get everything for free. That maybe not everything, but they're getting their accommodation, if they're getting the major things for free, while
correct.
the Irish people look on. And speaking of textbooks, they brought in, but they had to drop it again like a hot potato. Did you see on X? You probably, because you wouldn't see it on mainstream media, but they had a Family A thing. Have you heard of Family A?
No.
Well, it was for your listeners now. It was a story in a textbook in I forget what age group it was, probably for 12, maybe for first years, I don't know, like maybe early high school. They had a story of two families. They said, compare these two families. So they had family A and then they did family B. And family A, they had a traditional Irish family, a little picture, all animated now, all cartoonish, of an Irish family outside a thatched house. And they had a big text saying, "We are family A. We don't mix with other people. We only eat potatoes and bacon, and we like Irish music, and we don't go on foreign holidays." In other words, and then the family B was this family who traveled the world, multicultural, and welcomed the world basically. And they were asking the poor children to say
To choose.
which one is good. Yeah, which of these
To
families do
choose. Yes.
poor wee kids. So the kids would probably feel bad by saying, I actually like family A. Do you know what kid is
Yeah.
going to. So total mind games, Travis. But they had to drop this out of a school book. And of course, the publisher blamed the Department of Education. The Department of Education blamed the publisher. But we still don't know who put that into that book, who sanctioned that, who said that was fine to teach children. They are in Ireland. And there's another story last week going around. Journalists and a radio station put out that the tricolour, so the Irish flag now, is if you have an Irish flag at your house now, which many Americans, Irish Americans, would put the Irish flag up.
Sure.
They had a big news radio piece last week, absolutely shocking. They had to delete a portion of it where the presenter of the radio show said, "Oh yeah, when I see an Irish flag now up in, I would presume that's a racist house," he says. And
Yes.
they would have hundreds of thousands of listeners in Ireland listening to this. I don't want to swear, but it's bullshit. Listening to
Yes.
bullshit. And he had to delete that because obviously they got a backlash, or they see the commotion on social media about it. How could he say that? Does he not know he's in Ireland? How could he say that? That if you see an Irish flag, he automatically presumes it's a racist house. And that's the way they have totally framed Ireland, by saying if you mention the word immigration, if you love your country, if you love anything about Ireland and you want to up the Irish in any way, you are a racist. And that
Well,
is how
we've had
extreme.
the same thing happened here, has happened here over, the last 20 years or so. Okay. And
Mm.
this is why we now have, President Trump coming to office. He is a symptom, if you will, of the I guess I'll say the illness that's going on, where people, much like you just said about the flag, see the American flag as a racist flag. As these are Americans, people born and bred.
Yes.
Everything that they have is because of America. You
Yeah.
know, the most benevolent nation in the history of the world. Not that we're not without our problems, but it's a
Yeah.
fact. There has
Yeah.
never been a more benevolent nation to the world than the United States of America.
Yeah.
And they now see the American flag as, you know, hurtful, racist, ugly, whatever. They see the American dream as not only unattainable now, but as, again, as racist, as holding other people down, where in fact,
Yes.
anybody in America can make something of themselves. It
Yeah.
truly is the land of opportunity.
Yes.
Okay.
And you'd wonder.
And they did the same thing with bringing in, over the last administration, within 3.5, 4 years of the last administration, we had something like between 12 and 18 million people come to the United States illegally.
Yes.
Okay. The difference between America and Ireland, of course, is that, here we're talking today about a country of less than 6 million,
Mm.
where the United States, can, not that we should, because it's hurting us quite a bit,
Yeah.
but we are a country of 350 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're so much larger that these people tend to get lost,
You don't really notice
depending on
it.
what,
You don't
well, we
notice.
don't notice it as much as you're noticing it yourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we
And
notice it in ways because of the reason that there's no housing, Travis, and because you would ring a GP and you have to wait 2-3 weeks. Some people wait for an appointment, and because there's so many people waiting for hospital appointments and disability appointments, that's how
yes,
you notice it. Do you know?
yes.
I mean, it's crazy. You notice it in town. You notice it everywhere. People
Well,
come
for
back
us,
from, yeah.
we've had many towns and small cities all across the country have changed dramatically,
Yeah.
where there are places in, well, Ohio. I think it's Springfield, Ohio, is one of the ones that's
That's
particularly
right.
famous,
Yeah.
because they literally doubled their population. With
Crazy.
immigrants, with Haitian immigrants, which, again, physically do not fit into a town that small,
Mm.
okay? But also do not fit demographically with anything that's going on in that town,
Yeah.
But this has happened again. I can name dozens and dozens of cities, as I can make a whole list for you, that it's happened all over the country. But as a nation this size, it's back to what we were talking about earlier, where so many people remain ignorant because it doesn't touch me. It's not
Oh,
touching my family, so I'm not worried about it.
yeah.
Why, living in New York, why am I worried about somebody in Ohio or Minnesota or Maine or
True. Yes.
California? It's lost on us. You see what
Well,
I'm saying?
well, we have that here too, Travis. People think, well, they're not. The IPA center, the local IPA center, is not beside me, so you know what I mean. I don't have to
Correct.
deal with that. Yeah, I don't have
Correct.
to deal with that. But we have a thing here called family reunification. I don't know, do you have that in America, where people who come here can then, once their claim has been assessed, they can then bring their family in. And it's not a family as in maybe your wife and 2 children coming.
Well, we call it chain migration here.
Oh, there you go.
It's
It's a
chain
chain.
migration. So
Yeah.
if I come to Ireland, if you come to America,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then you can bring your husband, then you can bring your cousin, then you can bring your second cousin, because
Okay.
there's a chain. You see, it's they call it
Yes.
chain migration, and the next thing you know, you have 40 Gallaghers living here.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's happening here as well. But the problem is, so there was up to 20 people. So we don't know who they're claiming, but they're saying carers and all these number of people can come. But each of those people then that come in, they will need a roof over their heads as well. So it's just
Correct.
adding all to our housing crisis.
No,
And
let's let, let
yeah.
let's take a quick break right here, okay? We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about this immigration and how much it has impacted Ireland, particularly with housing, with crime, et cetera, okay? And because it is, we still have a lot more to talk about. But
Yes.
let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back, everybody. This is a 2024 American Eagle gold coin, which I bought along with several others last year. I'm very happy to report that its value has gone up over 40% in the first year. See, I was encouraged to buy some gold by a financial advisor friend who suggested I be more diversified with my investments. She said gold and silver was a very safe place to park some money, as well as a good hedge against inflation. So I took her advice, and all I can say is I wish I had bought more, as it's been so very, very good to us so far. Now, I purchased these gold coins from the good people over at stackingboise.com, who could not have been nicer, more knowledgeable, or more helpful. Now, I'm certainly no financial expert, but I will say from experience, if you're looking to make an investment, buy yourself some gold. And some real gold that you could hold in your hand, just like this coin you see here. And if you do, then do like I did and get with the good folks over at stackingboise.com. I'm telling you, they're good people, they took good care of me, and they'll take good care of you. Again, that's stackingboise.com. And hey, tell them Travis sent you. Hey there, true crime fans. Let me introduce you today to the Cold Case Initiative. The Cold Case Initiative is a foundation that donates money to smaller police agencies all over the country. It does this in order to offset the costs of scientific, forensic, and DNA testing with the hope of solving cold case homicides and other horrific violent crimes that otherwise would remain unsolved. Please, if you have it in your heart and a little money to spare, go to www.coldcaseinitiative.org. Again, that's www.coldcaseinitiative.org and lend a hand where it truly is needed. Be a part of solving a cold case. Every little bit helps. Know that 100% of the donations that go to the Cold Case Initiative go to agencies that are desperately in need of the help. So please, if you can, do the right thing and make a donation. Thanks, and all the best, my friends. Hey, everybody, how you doing? We are back with my good friend here, Amanda Gallagher, talking about some of the relatively new problems in Ireland, predominantly around immigration, but with your government as a whole. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, but one thing I just want to say before the break, we speak about the government and we speak about our Taoiseach and all these things. Our biggest problem is that we have no opposition, Travis. So in Ireland, when you have people in power, you have an opposition. And the
Yes.
opposition's job, in my view, would always be to be the populist people, the populist party for the people. Do you know what I mean? That should be the opposition's job, because it's where their golden ticket lies. If they can sort something for the people, they're going to get into government next time. But for some strange reason that none of us can get to the bottom of, and I doubt we will ever get to the bottom of, our opposition have been utterly useless, and worse than useless. Our opposition stands in opposition of the people. I'll talk to you about protests in a minute, Travis. But
well, that's something that it seems to me that the EU okay, has the current Irish government in their pocket. They're basically bought and paid for. And then your media, which is very small in comparison to the United States,
Yeah,
okay, it's a much smaller country. Um, your media is completely in the pocket and bought and paid for by the Irish government.
yeah,
All right. So when you say there's no opposition, there is no opposition that is visual to the Irish people. Am I
yeah.
correct?
Well, you're correct, but we have an opposition party. Well, we have a number of them, but they're all minute apart from this one, which is called Sinn Féin. Have you heard of Sinn Féin?
Oh, of course, yes.
You have, yeah. So the Sinn Féin would have a lot of backers and financial aid from the Irish Americans. But Sinn Féin have been so bad on this issue of immigration. So Sinn Féin,
Well, it seems incorrect. I know where you're going, but I don't want to interrupt you either. I'm sorry. But it seems to me, okay, that Sinn Féin, is Jerry Adams still in charge of Sinn Féin?
no, no, he's
No.
not. No, it's
Okay.
Mary Lou
But
MacDonald.
yes, correct. Okay, I
Yes,
should know that. I'm sorry.
you're okay.
Uh,
You're okay. So
but
Mary Lou,
it
yeah,
seems like they have basically taken a knee, if you will,
yes,
to everything that's going on.
correct. They have taken the knee, and they don't listen to the Irish people on it.
Hmm.
They turn off comments on X. They have blocked all of us. In this movement, we have a movement going, and they have blocked all of us. I would say probably 100% of us at this stage. They are blocked, so we can't ask them anything on X. All we can do is take screenshots of their posts and maybe talk about it. And so, Travis, Sinn Féin, this started in maybe 18 months ago. There was a place in Dublin called East Wall, and East Wall were in danger of having a big IPAS centre there. I think it went ahead in the end, but there was a group set up called East Wall Says No, and they were out in hail, rain, and shine for months on end, dark evenings, winter evenings, protesting with their buggies. A lot of women there, a lot of mothers, and they wanted to speak to Mary Lou MacDonald, who is the president of Sinn Féin. And this is her home turf now. This is East Wall in Dublin, is where she lives. And she never came to speak to them. She
Yes.
ignored them. And this is where most people woke up to the fact that Sinn Féin weren't going to help in any way on immigration. And in fact, Sinn Féin went further. They asked, when the hate speech legislation, as I said, they had to drop it like a hot potato last year. But when that was in danger of coming in, Sinn Féin asked to amend the legislation to allow migrants become a protected class.
Yes.
So, so they were totally on that track. And now they deny that and they say they didn't do that. But sure, it's even, there's a newspaper article about it. So they can't deny that. But they have been absolutely useless. And then when we have protests in all the towns and villages, they don't show up, they don't help. Whereas if you were a leader of Sinn Féin, you would see this as a golden opportunity to be in government the next
Yeah.
time. Do you know what I mean? Because the Irish
No.
people have no one. They have
No.
nobody to stand up for them. So, sorry, going back to that, we have held protests and we have had big protests in Dublin, trying to knock sense into the government, basically. Just lovely, peaceful protests with music and flags and everything. And then there does be a counter protest of the NGOs and the lefties and the bought and paid for people. And deep in the middle of that are Sinn Féin. So Sinn
Yes.
Féin stand with posters calling the Irish people every name under the sun, and they should be with the Irish people. They're not.
Hmm.
They actually are. I actually don't know what, as you said at the beginning of the show, ignorance. But it's not ignorance. It is actually frightening how they are so in depth, ingrained into this, and they won't veer from. They won't call immigration out at all. So they go on protests about housing and they talk about this and that, but they go round and round in circles. They won't mention the word
Well,
immigration.
they're afraid to lose power. It has nothing to do with the people at all. You
Yeah,
know, they're afraid to lose power, and they see, like the Irish Freedom. I'm sorry,
Irish
what's the name
Freedom
again?
Party.
I was going
Yeah,
to say coalition, but I knew coalition was wrong. Irish
yeah,
Freedom Party, as a threat. You know,
yeah,
they see you. They don't want to join you because they will lose power. You see,
yeah, yeah,
and that's the thing. Like what's been happening in England with the Reform Party.
mm,
Who knew that was going to come on so strong because the people have had enough. You know,
yes,
just like here in America with Trump, I was saying before, he is a symptom of the problems. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
20, 30 years ago, Trump probably would have never had a chance in a
Yeah.
million years.
Yes.
But now people are so fed up with what's been being done to them. It's not what's happening to them, it's what's intentionally being done to them.
Well, this is it,
Okay?
Travis. As you said before, is it planned? It has to be, because
Oh, absolutely.
there is no way in the world that all of the West would have so much immigration from non-EU countries without it being planned. I mean, in
Correct.
2018, this is what woke me up, was the document from the UN saying replacement migration. That document, the fact that Ireland signed the UN Migration Pact sneakily without telling the people or asking the people,
Yep.
do we want to do that? I mean, a copy of that pact should have gone to every home in Ireland, and then a vote should have been taken. Do we want to do it or not? So those two things. And the fact that the whole of the West since then, since COVID, the whole of the West has been flooded on a constant basis. Ireland, England, France, Germany, America. It has to be planned. And now people, and the way they stop people talking about it is racism. You're racist. You're far right.
Yes.
All these names that everyone, all of our movement have been called. And it's just ridiculous at this stage. Actually, we laugh now. You have to laugh when they would say, I mean, there was a newspaper article yesterday. The far right don't get anywhere in the polls or don't get anywhere in elections. So now they're using social media to spread their hate, they said.
Yes.
Absolute ridiculous newspaper article. I just laughed at it. I just laughed. There's people I meet, there's 90-year-olds who I talk to, 96-year-olds, 88-year-olds, all the way down to 18-year-olds who are sick to their back teeth of everything that's going on. And most of those people are not on X or don't see social media posts. So the journalists,
Correct.
once again, have got it wrong. They don't want to engage. And now we had protests there in Ballymena in the north. There were protests there, and you probably saw that footage.
Yes.
It turned violent, and there was arson and attacks out of that protest. But the majority of people there were not violent. Do you know what I mean, Travis? And the
Hmm.
majority of people there were interviewed not by mainstream media, by podcasters, and probably GB News is a very good news site. They came over and they interviewed the people there. And the people there have said that they have had, the protest stemmed from a rape of young teen girl,
Yes.
by immigrants into the town. So the people interviewed have said that they, on numerous occasions over the past year and a half, have voiced their concerns, have tried to get help. So much has gone on, and these politicians that are in charge never met them. The mainstream media never came to interview them. But yet, lo and behold, when there is violence stemming from a protest, they're all on the bandwagon. The politicians are all lecturing people. The mainstream media put it everywhere. There's violence. But they have never, on the run up to that for the last 18 months, came to the community, spoken to the community, tried to help, tried to sort it out. So this is where we're at. So many people in Ireland are sick and tired of everything. They're not on X. So it's just an organic thing. You go to any
Yes.
village in Ireland with a microphone and talk. Actually, no, you can't go with a microphone because they're scared of being called racist. So you can't go with a microphone.
Yes.
You can talk privately to people. You can be in a hall of people with no cameras and they'll tell you the truth.
Let me touch on a little bit so people understand. Okay. We'll talk more about the protest, but let's give them a little window of what people are protesting against.
Yes.
Okay. So, Dublin alone, okay, reported from 2023 to 2024 a 22.5 increase in rapes in Dublin alone. That's that's a
It's
quarter
massive.
more rapes
Yeah, massive.
within 1 year. However, okay, within the last, let me see here if I got my numbers right. All right, yes. So in the last 10 years in Dublin alone, rapes have increased by 87%. There's been an 87% rise in women being attacked in Dublin. This is not the all of Ireland, okay? This is Dublin alone, okay? Knife violence, okay, has increased dramatically in Ireland as well. And of course, homicides are attached to that, all right? And again, for people that don't understand, Ireland historically has had fairly low incidents of homicide and violence compared to someplace like America.
Yeah.
America is a very violent country, as we know.
Yeah.
We don't even talk about knife violence. Isn't even a category here because we're shooting each other left and right.
I know.
Okay.
Terrible. Yeah.
And the idea that it's getting so much worse is ridiculous. And what did I say here? It's increased over the last 15 to 20 years, which is exactly what we're talking about as far as when this immigration began.
Yeah.
And funny, something that you guys don't keep track of, just like they've started here in America. There are many, many cities. It's not all of America, but there are certain cities, particularly in California and on the West Coast, Chicago, New York, who no longer report the ethnicity of criminals. And they do this because they find that it is racist to say that someone who has committed a crime is of a particular race, which is ridiculous because it is what it is. It's a fact.
Yes.
Okay. And facts have nothing to do with your feelings or how it is simply, again, I'm losing my words here because it's so frustrating.
Yes.
It's a fact.
It should be. It should be a. It should be a given that you can look at crime statistics and see which
and
nationalities
know who is committing the crime.
Yes, but as you said, some towns in or some cities in America have stopped it. We've been told in Ireland that the Gardaí do not collect data, which is absolutely crazy. But speaking of that, actually, it's providential that you mentioned that. Yesterday on X, of course, we didn't see it on mainstream media. Yesterday on X, a person, I don't know how she come across it. I think it's a lady, but it's one of these accounts that I don't know their name fully, but very good account I follow on Twitter, on X. They said by mistake, I think the Irish Prison Service or something released this data by mistake, and they quickly deleted it, but she grabbed it. I don't know the full story. I have to get the full story on that. But what was so interesting was 8 times more Nigerians are in Irish prisons than the Irish. So there's one little nugget of information we got.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
one little nugget. And that brings me back to your point there about the last 15 or 20 years in Ireland. We don't know fully the data. We do not know the data. But what we do know, all we can go on is what the mainstream media choose to report. And what we do know is over the past few years in particular, the high profile cases of the most shocking crime that has happened in our country in living memory and in our history has been committed by immigrants. And a couple of those I can think of now. Sorry, speaking of that yesterday, and how Nigerians are 8 times more likely to be in prison than the Irish in an Irish prison. And we have the Black Axe Gang working from Ireland, which is, I don't know if you heard of the Black Axe Gang. It's a West African, I think, gang. We have so many members here working. Okay, so we know that. Our Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee, told us that you cannot link crime with immigration. They tell us that in one hand, and in the other hand, so on that, you read that once on a newspaper and you flick the page and it says the Black Axe Gang are working from Ireland. So this is the contradictory things that we have to, and we have to work all these things out for ourselves. As you said, there should be data readily available. There's not. So that's the Nigerian Black Axe Gang. They're 8% or 8 times more likely to be in a prison. And I'm not picking on Nigerians now. I'm just saying that's what came out yesterday. That's the little bit of sliver of information we got yesterday. But then you see in the most, well, it's not the most horrific because there's a number of high profile cases. But one of the cases that really, really upsets me and makes me sick to my stomach is the case of the Nigerian care home worker in an Alzheimer's nursing home. And he raped, I don't know how many victims. I think there's 21 victims. But in particular, yeah, one little lady, she's dead now, passed away, God rest her. But her daughter said at the court case that totally ruined the last years our mother had. A disgusting, vile Nigerian rapist, and they don't know how many victims. He was just caught because CCTV saw him going in the middle of the night to this poor, who was an Alzheimer's, suffering with Alzheimer's, this poor, frail lady. she is now passed away, but God only knows how many other victims. I think I think I read 21, but there was talk of it could have been 300 victims. I don't know this
Yeah.
guy, but he got an 11-year sentence, and the last
11
year
years.
suspended. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's in for 10 years now. That was back in 2021. But this guy should be deported. That we don't hear. The only thing we've heard about a deportation.
Well, he should be hung, but that's me
Yeah,
talking.
I mean
You
that's
know.
one of the
So,
most vile. The other one I can think of is obviously the Parnell Street School stabbing in November
mhm.
23. Poor wee children. That little girl, the one who suffered the most, has only just been released from hospital recently, and she's only returning to education. She had to learn everything. A little 5-year-old, she had to relearn everything she has learned. God love that family. What other high profile? Oh, my own town. What am I talking about? My own town. Yusuf Palani, who was an immigrant. His family immigrants into Sligo here. He beheaded two gay men.
Yes.
Beheaded two gay men and blinded another, who I
Hmm.
see regularly around town. The poor man has one eye gone, a false eye. Also an immigrant. What's the other crimes now? Oh, Ashleen Murphy.
Hmm.
Ashleen Murphy, a school teacher, you probably heard, very high
Yes.
profile case. Out for a jog on a beautiful spring day, out for a jog, 3 in the day, life taken from her.
Yes.
Struggled and fought to her death, but stabbed so many times by this
Well, I know
Huska.
I see some of these other guys. I might be getting their names wrong, so I'm sorry if I do. I think his name is possibly Niall Ferguson. I'm not sure. And another guy, I think his name is Michael O'Keefe. But
Yes,
they're all Twitter X guys,
yes,
and all they do is post crime after crime after crime after crime.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
And again, these crimes were not in Ireland 20 years ago. This is a new thing for you.
yes,
But because they happen and grow so slowly, now this new, I don't know what I want to call them, but this new group that's in Ireland now, particularly in Dublin, is so large and so strong that people are finally waking up and getting tired,
yes,
and that's why again we're starting to see things. But let me back that up just a little bit. What's happening with housing? Because I know we touched on it for a second, okay? And the housing crisis itself, in my view, is a crime. It's a crime that's perpetrated by your government against your people.
yeah,
But it is again because of the overwhelming amount of immigration that you have. And what do I have here? Uh, Ownership for young people like under 40 years old, is
mm.
now down to nothing. I mean, it's literally like
It,
5-6%,
it's 7% as I read, but that could be
seven
less.
percent,
7%,
7%.
and that would be the 7% who do own. They would be well off because the price of houses.
Sure.
It used to be that a guard and a nurse who married a policeman and a
Mhm.
nurse or policeman, they could obviously buy a house together. Now they don't get to do it. Now they are struggling, and if they're
Sure.
struggling, then the regular person who
Well,
works in a shop or other
and then
job,
with the loss of housing, also the rents have gone up. The rents have more than doubled in some cities.
yeah, the rent
You
is
know.
outrageous rent. No one can afford rent, and
But if your rent doubles and your income does not,
yeah,
where does that put you?
exactly. Yet there's people on poverty. There are people on the poverty line, Travis, and it's very,
Yes.
very sad. And we're supposedly
Mhm.
one of the richest countries in the world. Yes, for some people. And then they say there's no builders in the country. We won't meet our housing targets. Blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. There's always a story out how we won't meet our housing targets. And then we see the construction going on in
And
Ireland.
yet, that's where I was going
Yeah.
to get to. And yet, they're building brand new housing for
Wow.
people who are not Irish.
Yeah. If you
The
do me,
Irish are excluded. It's not even that the Irish can't afford to get in there. They are excluded and not allowed to go,
oh yeah, with
which
these
is
with these
beyond me.
new iPass buildings. Oh yeah, the Irish don't even look here. I don't know. Do you put footage in on your podcast? I don't know, Travis. But if you did, I will give you a little clip for your viewers to show them.
Oh, please send it along. Yeah.
Yeah, to show them the apartments that are being built in my town. These apartments are absolutely stunning, and I keep going on about them because they're so stunning and so lovely. And the 20-something-year-olds in the country or in my town would absolutely love to, and they would pay their contribution. They would work and pay for these things. You know what I mean? But
Yes.
no, it's going to be filled. It's nearly complete now. We know it's going to be filled with people, as our government said, 80% are economic migrants. It's going to be filled. And it's very, very sad. And what they're also doing is, do you know what a modular home is there,
Yes, I do.
Travis? Yeah,
Yes.
so a modular home. And these things are stunning. They're not like the old modular home, like a cabin. These things are absolutely beautiful, what they're building. But the price of them, they came out yesterday and said they're building these modular homes, I think in Clonmel and Tipperary. I think I heard someone say 600 of these homes going into this massive, massive loads of fields. And it's also near finished, the construction. But the government have paid €426,000 per unit. That is like you could build 2 homes for families for that, 2 houses. So
Well, because your government does the same thing that our government does and wastes money beyond belief.
Beyond belief. Oh, and the price tag in 2024 for IPAS, and remember, your viewers or your listeners can remember, it's International Protection Accommodation Services. The bill in 2024 for everything concerning that, it was €205,000 per hour, not per day.
Hour.
Every hour that ticks by in 2024 was 205,000. I don't know in dollars. Would that be $237? I'm going to $237,000 per hour, and that to me is a home an hour. And in 2025 for the Irish youth, the young families, and those who are homeless and on the housing list, Travis, that to me is a tragedy because it's not needed. The government said 80% of these people are economic migrants. Why are we doing this? Where are we getting the money for this? These people, they call it temporary. Sorry.
Regardless of cost, and with such a housing crisis, your country again keeps inviting more people in.
Yes, it's non-stop.
They keep bringing more people in. So it's not going to stop after this discussion we're having.
No.
In fact, I will bet we won't know for several months, but what did I say before? So if it's 150,000 people in 2024, what is it going to be in 2025?
Exactly. And do they even know the figures, Travis? Because I tell you why I'm saying
I'm sure
that.
They don't. I'm sure those numbers are lies.
I'm telling you why I'm saying that, because our Minister for Justice, our previous Minister for Justice was a lady, Helen McEntee. She was brought into a accounts committee, or not public accounts committee. She was brought into a committee meeting and we all saw it. And she basically said, they don't know. They're saying 80% are economic migrants. They're saying 80% come through the north, which we have a common travel area with the UK. So when you see the boats landing in the south of England, the big boats that come over, the dinghies full of men, and they're all men. I don't see any women and children on those dinghies coming.
I don't either. Every bit of footage I've seen, they're all men.
Men. So 991 men landed, I think last Wednesday, one day. 991 landed in the south of England. They come through. How many of them 991 are coming into Ireland that day via the north? Our Minister for Justice said 80%, she believes. 80% of people are coming in. So when you give us the figure of 149,000, that's the figure. Who knows? In my view, I don't think we know. I don't think anybody knows anything. I think everyone's coming for the free-for-all. That Green Minister put out that tweet. If you in 8 different languages, why would you do that? Why would you put a tweet in 8 different languages if you don't want people to see that and come? They are coming. They will continue to come, Travis. I don't think anybody has a clue of the numbers. Only what we see for ourselves when we go to Dublin, when we walk around our own towns and villages. Every single Irish person can see for their own eyes what's going on. We don't need the media.
That's the problem too, and that's why the Irish people have had enough.
Yeah,
is because of all the lying, just like that. Nobody knows what the truth is.
As I always say, Travis. As I always say, if there's nothing wrong with what you guys are doing to the government and the opposition, remember, we were talking to all the politicians now here. If there's nothing wrong, then why don't you be transparent? Why don't you tell us? Yes, tell us everything. Tell us the crime statistics. Tell us everything that's going on. But they don't. They try and hide it. Anyone that brings it up is a far-right racist in their view, which is absolute nonsense. You just laugh in the face of those people now. That's my advice to everyone. Laugh your heads off at that, because that's the biggest joke ever. But now the biggest worry is this hate speech legislation that the EU are forcing on Ireland. We will see where that goes. My advice is for everyone to just contact their TDs as usual. But I mean, it just can't go ahead, because when you can't define something, then you can't legislate for
Correct.
that thing. Do you know, Travis? So that just can't go ahead. I mean, the people should be on the streets over that. As one journalist
Well,
said, it would
and
turn
they
your hair white if you read that legislation. You
and
know.
luckily the people are starting to come out into the streets, even though that's being covered up too.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you a little bit about this, because what I've seen and what I've read, okay? So you had this many protests so far, and we could talk about many of them, but the big one that everybody was so impressed with was that one in Dublin in, what was it, April 26th,
April
right?
26th. I was there. Yes.
Now, this is what killed me. All right. And we see the same thing happens in our news in America. So when I say it's no surprise, even though, again, it makes me laugh, even though it's not funny.
Yeah.
So I've seen reports of between 50,000 and 106,000 people showed up in Dublin for this march. And it was beautiful. I watched it on television. People as far as the eye could see.
Yes.
The protesters had a few hundred. I mean, the protesters protesting the protesters
Counter.
had a
Yeah.
few hundred.
Yeah.
Okay? But thousands and thousands of people, old, young, babies and strollers, everybody holding an Irish flag,
Yeah.
right? Everybody singing songs. Just a beautiful, beautiful day. Not one stitch of violence, right? It
Yeah.
was gorgeous. But your news people, the RTE, which is the biggest
The state
news people of
media.
all, right?
Yeah. The state
They
media. Yeah.
reported 5,000. How can they report 5,000? Now, if you're wrong, if you're completely wrong, okay, at 20,000 when there was 50,000, or if you're wrong at 50,000 because there was 70,000, well, you're wrong. You have to guess. It's a guesstimate. There's no way in the world that it was because it was 5,000 people per block that I
Yeah.
was looking at.
Yeah.
And there was
Yes.
blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks of people.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah.
So here we have them outright lying to Ireland, to anybody that wasn't there, and the rest of the world, because we get the same thing here, because it'll be echoed by our new, whatever the RTE reports will be echoed here by our news stations.
Yes.
And I'm saying, wait a second, I'm looking at this.
Yeah.
This is not 5,000 people.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Now maybe there is a discrepancy between 50,000 and 100,000. But
it's definitely not
I'm
5.
telling you right now,
Yeah.
it wasn't 5,000.
And I was there. I was in the middle. It wasn't 5,000. It was actually, it was one of the best days the Irish have had since Italia 90 and the World Cup, them days in the 90s. It was just fantastic, Travis. And
it looked like a beautiful thing. It really did.
It was. Everyone was so happy. There was singing. I took footage of a couple, a man and woman, up in one of the apartments with their big Irish flags out. And it was just, they were roaring to go. And that's like, you get a lot of support from people who are too scared still. So that's the people you saw on April 26th are the people who are not scared anymore. So that's fantastic. Correct. But there's many more, 3 times as many at home who would love to come. Maybe they're sick, maybe they're old, maybe they were working. And most probably they were still too scared. This is the problem. They are too scared. And they, thank God for X, where you would have got the real footage from. You wouldn't know it only for X. But other people then who are not informed are looking at that, and they're looking at RTE, and RTE would focus on the counter-protesters. They would focus on their message. Yes. Yeah, they would not dare ask, like Rebel News, Ezra Levant from Rebel News.
Yes. Okay. The Canadian outfit.
Yes, he came. He's been to, I think, all the protests. He comes over. He's great. He interviewed the 2 councillors, Malachy Steenson and Gavin Pepper, who are the movement's 2 councillors elected, very good men.
I saw that interview.
Yeah. Now, you can imagine how frustrated we are looking at this, that a Canadian outfit has to come over and air the interviews with these men, and their own media, their own journalists have not once asks them, why are you protesting? Why are all these 50,000, because it definitely was 50,000 plus in my view, I was there, why are you all here? What could be so bad? It's crazy. So the people at home who are not informed and not on X and didn't see that are they don't even get to hear what the poor people are protesting about. So this is why I set up my podcast, as I said, hopefully to get some of those people who might flick through YouTube and then they'll see something. And Once they see it, they can't unsee it, and they'll start digging and digging, and they might set an X account up, because realistically, that's the only way you will be informed, is an X account. Do you know, Travis? You won't hear it any other place, as you know yourself. But yeah, they keep doing that. They keep hiding the truth. There was something else I was going to say about a previous protest. Oh, yeah. At the previous protest last May, I think it was, there was another massive one, but not as massive, but it was massive. And there was these people in O'Connell Street, which is our main street of Dublin there, where the counter protesters are. But this lady came running from the middle of the street. She wasn't in the protest. She was just on the Dublin street. And she came up to me and she just said, everything you guys are doing, please keep doing it. That's all she said to me. And I was like, okay, thank you. But that's the type. You're at home and you're wishing and you're hoping that the movement gets somewhere, just for a bit of normality to resume, because it's not normal, Travis, what's going on. And as you said there, with chain migration, here we call it family reunification. It sounds much better than chain migration. They've got good names on these things. But with that, these people that come, they are not temporary, as they call it here, temporary protection. They're looking. Oh yeah, the main thing here is when their asylum application gets assessed, okay, when they get a yes or a no from the government, I think it takes about 18 months at the minute, and they're trying to speed that up. But to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they bring it to 3 months of a decision, because our Minister for Justice sat at that meeting in Leinster House and said that in 2023 there was 7,300 deportation orders handed out to 7,300 people, and then she said less than 100 were followed through. So that could be 10, that could be 20, but we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's 99. She said less than 100. So 99 people out of 7,300. Only 99 people left. So to me, it doesn't matter. They're saying with the EU Migration Pact, they'll get the decision time down to 12 weeks. So what is what I say? So what? If you're not enforcing deportations, it doesn't matter if you get the decision time down to 12 hours when someone comes into the country. You don't let them go. They do here. We don't have an ICE like you guys. We have a self-deportation system, Travis, which is shocking. It's just a letter you get to say, sorry, Travis, we don't believe. Yeah, we don't believe you about your asylum. We don't believe you're being persecuted in America there. So you have to go home now. Bye-bye. Send us a postcard when you get there. That's the system we have. We're relying on Travis to get his butt out and send a postcard when he gets home. So it's an absolute joke. It's a joke of a system. Unless we have enforced deportations, like they did a couple of weeks ago, they did 39 Nigerian people were sent back to Nigeria, and they made a big celebration out of it and a big hullabaloo, our government, that they were doing such good work deporting these 39 people. And I do say, well, that's 39. I don't know, are they from 2023 or 2024? But let's remember there's 7,200 people from 2023 that you guys have to deal with. Where are these people? Where are they gone? So these are massive questions. To me, it's not getting solved. To me, the EU Migration Pact is going to make it worse. They've marketed it now to the Irish people that it's going to sort all our problems out. No, I remember Mark McSharry, who is a TD, who read the legislation and read this pact and knows it, that we're just nobodies. We're on another nobody podcast. Correct.
Exactly.
We in this, you mentioned Mick O'Keefe. Yeah, we in this movement are absolute nobodies, Travis. And yet we are the only ones doing the hard work. We're doing the work of research. We're doing the work of trying to inform people. We're doing the work of our opposition, or Sinn Féin. We're doing all the work for these people who are getting well paid. We're doing the work of the media, who don't tell the people the thing. Yes. We are doing this work voluntary for one reason, because we love Ireland. We care about the Irish people. We care about, when we leave the earth, what state Ireland will be in. That's the only reason. We are not far right. We are not racist. We are trying to preserve Ireland. As you said at the beginning of the show, Ireland without the Irish people will not be Ireland. And that's exactly it. We need to keep Ireland Irish. It's very simple. And we will work obviously, till the day we die for that. So it'll be a long road ahead, please God, a long road ahead for our government and for the opposition, because we are prepared to work. And I know others in the movement, I know the councillors, and I know the likes of Mick O'Keefe, as you said there. We are prepared to work until our dying breath to keep speaking, keep the message out. And I really think we'll win one day, funny enough. I really do think we'll win.
Well, I hope you will. And we have had quite the conversation here.
We have, Travis,
but
and it was great.
I don't think after what you just said, okay, I don't think we really need to. Yeah, I could talk to you for hours, but I don't think we need to continue, because that is a high point. The fact that you are not going to give up the fight,
No.
And
Well,
that you
we're
and
only
your
beginning.
comrades are going to continue, and hopefully the Irish people will wake up and vote the right people in before it turns uglier than it already has.
Yes, I would say we have a. I wouldn't say a long road ahead. My gut feeling is we have a little road ahead, and I don't know, is it going to be, probably not in the elections. All we need, Travis, is people to wake up, and good
Yes.
politicians will spring up when everyone's awake. Good politicians or good candidates who love Ireland will spring up, and that's when Ireland will resume as normal. Service will resume as normal. So you know that notice that comes up on the TV sometimes, where the old TV, it's just a glitch. Service will resume, and that's the way I'm looking at Ireland now. We are going through a glitch, and it's a man-made glitch, and we don't have anyone to help us. Even the EU, even the UN, and the same in America, the same in England. It's the people who have to help the people. We have no Trump-style person here, but we have the people, and we have each other, and we are going to help each other. And we, at the minute, are the opposition. The movement on X are the opposition, and we are going nowhere. And it's beautiful, and it's fantastic, and we're going to be there. And thank you, Travis. And if I start interviewing, I'll have you on my podcast too.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Andy, good luck to you, and good luck to Ireland.
Yes.
All right. All the best, my love.
We have the luck of the Irish.
You do.
Yes,
you absolutely do.
Thanks, Travis. Thank you.
All right. There you go, everybody. Amanda Gallagher. You can catch her on the Politix Podcast, spelled Politix, all right, which is available on YouTube. You can also catch her on X under the handle Mandy Gal, all right, MandyGal. And understand, sadly, this problem is happening to countries all over the world, all right, where the EU in particular is quite literally forcing mass migration onto these countries who are unable to accommodate the numbers of people that are coming into their country. All right. This has nothing to do with racism or hatred or anything like that. It's simple math. These people cannot be accommodated. Okay. And they're doing it in Ireland at the expense of the Irish people. In the United Kingdom, at the expense of the British people. And it's the same with France, with Germany, with Italy, with all these different countries, okay? I am not sure what the answer to these problems are as far as taking care of these people, but forcing them into countries that, again, cannot accommodate them is certainly not the answer. And that's it. I look forward to your comments. Other than that, please remember, do the right thing. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and please check out all our other stuff over on the Four Bosons Media channel. Thanks again. Listen up, this one's important. As a rule, I never stump for charities, because most of them don't hand out as much money as they collect. And that's a sad fact. But not Tunnel to Towers. These guys do the right thing. They have an A+ rating from Charity Watch and a 4-star rating from Charity Navigator. That's like the #1 charity watchdog group. With over 93% going towards the families of veterans and first responders who have lost their lives in the line of duty. For only $11 a month. And it's easy. Just go to T2T.org. That's letter T,
2, and hit the donate button. Do the right thing and do good for the families and the veterans and the first responders who do good by you. It's only $11 a month. Thanks, and all the best.